a minimum reactionary gap of 21 feet is required to react and deliver at least 2 rounds and to have enough time to move out of the attacker's path.
So the video for today, we're going to talk about the 21-foot rule and how it's not a rule at all, and basically everything you know about the 21-foot rule is bullshit. Okay, so the 21-foot rule, where did it come from? Why does it exist? Why does everybody quote the 21-foot rule? The origin of it came from a training video that was made in the early 80s by a guy named Dan Insanto. He was a martial artist, kind of famous in that world at the time. He worked with Bruce Lee and many other people. He was in movies. I think he even had a child who grew up to be a stunt double. Interesting guy. And he was trying to answer a couple of questions when he made this video. The first question that was asked was if an officer, and they asked these police officers, hey, if you're attacked by a knife-wielding attacker, how would you respond? And the officers say, well, I would shoot him. You know, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, right? That's the common response. Well, then the question arose, what if you're too close to the person to get your weapon? And how close do you need to be from somebody to attack them with a knife and them not be able to respond? Or what is the safe distance for a police officer to be in order to appropriately respond to a knife-wielding attacker? And if he is not outside of that distance, what is the best way to react to that threat? I'm going to show you the entire video here in a couple of minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that it's a very old video, and the voiceover work was very well done, but it was distorted over the years and recorded on ancient technology. So I went ahead and kind of remastered. I, for lack of a better term, corrected the audio, and I used my own voiceover. So hopefully you guys can learn a little bit from this video, and with me kind of modernizing it, it will make it so that more modern audiences are going to watch this video and take from it what it is that you're supposed to take. But the real thing about this video is not, you know, if somebody has a knife and they're closing that gap and they're within 21 feet, that you need to shoot that person. That is 100% not the point of the video. The point of the video is to teach officers about their reactionary gap and the danger that they might be in as they close that gap. Because everyone thinks, okay, if somebody draws a knife on me, I'm just going to pull my gun, I'm going to start blasting. What he found was that if you're just standing there, weapon in your holster, and somebody charges at you with the intent to kill you and you want to defend yourself with lethal force, you need to have about 21 feet between you and that person in order to be successful in that endeavor. If you're inside of that gap and there's a person with a knife that might attack you, that's when you need to go ahead and draw your firearm and have your firearm ready to go. If you find yourself inside of that 21-foot reactionary gap and somebody draws a knife and begins to attack you, then taking the time to draw your pistol might not be the most appropriate thing to do. And I would also say the same thing about the taser. You're going to get stabbed a bunch of times while you're trying to do that. That is kind of the purpose of this training scenario. There's other things that as an officer you need to keep in mind, and that officers often do when dealing with a potentially dangerous person or somebody who is armed with a knife and you're very well aware that that weapon is involved. And some of those things, not only do you have distance, but you can also put barriers between yourself and that subject, or have lethal force with non-lethal force backup. I don't know, but the moral of the story is that nothing in this video is saying that if somebody is within 21 feet, you must shoot and kill that person. They're just talking about the reactionary gap and things that officers should be mindful of when they're walking into a situation. This is kind of like you have that training, like, okay, what's my training? My training is you meet deadly force with deadly force. So that means if someone presents a knife, I need to respond with a knife. Then you go to the next level and say, well, what if you're unable to get to your lethal force options? Or what are your actual capabilities to respond to that lethal force threat with lethal force in kind? That is really the purpose of this video. It does not say anything, and the people who are bastardizing this, they need to stop what they're doing. I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. So without further ado, I would like you to watch the video with my new voiceover. Let me know if I've made any improvements to it, and let me know in the comments below if you've heard about the 21-foot rule and if you now have a better understanding of it. I sure hope you do. Without further ado, here's the video. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Here, officers have been told to investigate a suspicious circumstance at night in a warehouse and react to what they find. At first glance, this officer's distance from the suspect looks safe enough, but an attacker can easily cover this distance faster than the officer can draw their gun. Remember, when you close the distance between yourself and a suspect, do so only by purposeful decision. In fact, at close distances, your only realistic option for controlling a suspect is empty hand control. Yet, when officers are asked how they would control a knife attacker, they usually say, by shooting him, forgetting that they may not have time in reality. Here, still unrehearsed, is what happens when officers assume they can automatically use deadly force against a knifer. They stand their ground and try to draw, or try to draw and disengage simultaneously. Or even worse, try to draw, fall down, and shoot, and they lose. Because time and distance work for the offender and against the officer. With the reactionary gap of about 1 foot or less, it's impossible for you to react quickly enough to even touch your holstered sidearm once the attack begins. At about 5 feet, the average officer can't even get his sidearm unholstered. Unless your sidearm or baton is already out, you'll have to rely on physical control at less than 5 feet. At about 10 feet, you might get your sidearm out, but you probably won't get a shot off. A suspect with a knife can close 7 paces and deliver deadly force in about 1.5 seconds. For the average officer to deliver 2 rounds against an attacker who starts moving at 10 feet, the sidearm must already be drawn and ready to shoot. At about 15 feet, your chances are a little better. If you're alert, anticipate danger, and are skilled with your equipment. But to deliver 2 rounds center mass, your hand would already have to be on your sidearm when the attack begins. Tests with hundreds of officers revealed that in most cases, a minimum reactionary gap of 21 feet is required to react and deliver at least 2 rounds and have enough time to move out of the attacker's path.